Hey Ecofictologists, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lovis and today I'm bringing you the first book review in a while and one that I am super excited about. I'm going to be talking about The Forever Sea by Joshua Phillip Johnson. It's an eco-fantasy novel, the first in a planned series, and it just came out earlier this year. One of the biggest benefits of being part of the eco-fiction social media community is the book recommendations. I stumbled across this title on a Twitter post and I saw the cover, which kind of immediately tells you what genre you're in, doesn't it? And I saw the words eco-fantasy on the front. This might seem like a small detail to you, but I haven't seen that many mainstream novels market themselves as eco-fantasy. It's taking a gamble, isn't it? It's signposting to the reader exactly what they're going to get. It's not trying to sneak in an ecological message. It's the opposite. It's making sure that the reader knows there is one. For some, that's enough of a reason to not even pick up the book, to just put it aside because they don't want to be lectured to. For others, it's a reason to pick up the book. For me, I was immediately fascinated. And the book itself did not disappoint. I thought it was original, I loved the vibe, and it pulled me through. It was so intriguing. So, without lots more jabber from me, let's get into it. First up, as always, a spoiler-free summary. The Forever Sea is a secondary world epic fantasy novel that follows Kindred Greyreach, a girl on board the Errant, which is a harvesting vessel that sails the Forever Sea, which is actually a seemingly endless expanse of grass. No water to be found here. Huge tall stalks of all different kinds of grasses, and all the vessels sail on top of it with the magical help of the hearthfire, which is maintained by the hearthfire keeper, which in our case is Kindred. The hearthfire is the magic in this fantasy world. It is a fire born of song and bones of captains who have sailed the Forever Sea. The way you arrange the bones and sing the song determine how the vessel floats, how fast it goes, and how deep into the grasses it sinks. And of course, the goal is to keep it up, because down below, in the shadows, in the depths of the grasses, there be monsters. Of course, having a story about ships and a forever sea and everything, it just begs for there to be pirates. And yes, there are pirates. There are lots of pirates. But I won't tell you too much because I don't want to spoil anything. Kindred is on the search for her grandmother, the Marchess, who is a legendary captain of her own ship, and who one day mysteriously just walked into the grasses and sank to the depths. Everyone thinks this was an act of suicide, but a note that she leaves Kindred makes Kindred think that maybe not all is as it seems. So I hope that gave you a little bit of a flavor of the book, if not an idea of the actual plot. I really love the vibe that it gave, this mix of endless sea of grasses and ships and pirates and magic and monsters and everything. It felt new and original to me. It felt like something I hadn't read before, and I really enjoyed it. Now, why is this eco-fantasy? What is the ecological message in this book? It's probably useful to know a little bit more about the Errant, which is a harvesting vessel, and harvesting means that they go out into the Forever Sea and they harvest the grasses. The ships go out from the city and they spend weeks harvesting specific species of grasses and bring them back in, because the grasses is where everyone gets their water from. And without the grass, there is no water. They have kind of tamed the sea with magical powers, and there are mages based in the city that kind of keep tabs on everything and keep the Forever Sea nice and flat, kind of to the extent that their magic reaches, which keeps it relatively safe for the harvesting vessels to bring back those precious, precious stalks of grasses. The Amazon description of the book says The Forever Sea is a story about the beauty and threat of nature and the relationship between finite natural resources and infinite greed. And that is a pretty good summary, I think. Over time, they have over-harvested the Forever Sea, the area that is safe for them to harvest in any case, and species are becoming rarer and rarer, and with that comes water shortages. They get their water from the sea, and that is slowly becoming less and less productive. Naturally, when local resources start to dwindle, eyes look further and further away to see where they can get new resources from. Of course, further away means no protection from the natural wildness that is the sea, and no protection from pirates. These ideas of taming nature, pushing it and harvesting it past the threshold that it can replenish itself, and then expanding more and more to find more and more resources, is something we should all be able to recognize from our own society. I have mentioned this before on the channel, that fantasy, and in this case eco-fantasy, has a wonderful ability to draw parallels between our reality and the imaginary world that is being presented to us, but still maintaining a little bit of distance. Sometimes fantasy is brushed off as escapist and what good could it possibly do because it's not real and it will never reach people. But building a society that struggles with similar ecological issues that we struggle with, and in particular, kind of creating similar mindsets and motivations and greed. I think that draws pretty clear parallels, and I think a lot of people will be able to identify that there's something not right with that. There is something wrong, very wrong with that. And then maybe some of those people will take the next step and go, oh, maybe there's something really, really wrong with our reality too. This book also made me think of something really interesting. Like I said before, it is marketed as an eco-fantasy novel. It signposts to the reader, if you pick this up, there is an ecological message within this fantasy world. If that wasn't on the cover, if someone really wanted to, they could pick up the book and just enjoy it for what it is on the surface. A thrilling, exciting, fantastical pirate story with a cool setting and a wonderful magic system. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I think it's very clear. Even if it hadn't been on the cover, I would have seen it. But, I'm the choir that gets preached to, right? So most people, I think, would pick up on the ecological messages of the relationship between people and nature, because, like I said, I think they're quite clear. But even though these water shortages and the search for new resources kind of drive the motivations of the opposing forces within this book, the main action is like fighting between pirate ships and facing down monsters and a cool magic system, and there's a romance and a betrayal and promises and this mystery of the Marchess. This book has powerful storylines that are driven by these ecological struggles, and they provide a very clear backdrop to the story, but the story is not kind of that dependent on them. You could enjoy it for so many different reasons. And that is a delicate balance, to have it be there but not hit your reader over the head with it necessarily, because then you might be limiting your readership. I've thought about that balance in my own writing, of course. How heavy do I want to go with it? Do I want to make sure that the reader cannot ignore the ecological message because that is what I want them to learn? Or do I maybe tone it down a little bit so that everyone can enjoy the story for being a good story, and maybe sneak the message into people's minds who maybe would have put the book down if they knew there was a message to be learned? And maybe those people are the people who need to hear the message the most. Does that make any sense? I'm just kind of waffling now. Anyway, I thought The Forever Sea towed that line very well, and people on both sides of that fence can enjoy it. And you will get to hear more about this book next week because I had the pleasure and privilege of speaking to Joshua Phillip Johnson about his debut novel, and I pelted him with all these questions. He talks about his decision to market it as eco-fantasy and to find that balance. He talks about his inspiration for the book, which in no small part comes down to his daughter and his surroundings back home. And we gush about what fantasy can bring to the table and the importance of having these kinds of discussions across all genres. It's all coming next week. He was a joy to speak to, so I hope you enjoyed that interview as much as I did. And I absolutely can't wait for the second book. Like, I need it now. I need it now. So I hope you enjoyed this review of The Forever Sea by Joshua Phillip Johnson. I really enjoyed reading it and I would highly recommend. Epic fantasy with an ecological twist. It's right up my alley, so if this review reminded you of a similar book or something with a similar vibe, put that down in the comments because I will hoover up anything in that very broad sphere. Oh, it's been a while since I did my spiel. Let's see if I remember it. If you like what I do and would like to support me, then head on over to patreon.com/ecofictology and become a patron, where your monthly donation buys me books and also supports Lovely Oceans, a marine conservation organization operating out of Mozambique. If you want to find some community around your ecofiction, come and join us on our Discord server, Rewilding Our Stories. We've got authors, we've got publishers, we've got academics, but most of all, we're all readers who love to read this genre, have conversations about it, share resources, trade book recommendations, and we're about to start our new book club round, so if you kind of want to have a bit of a group read along, then definitely join us over there. The invite link is in the description below. You can also join my Facebook group. The invite link is down there as well. I post updates there, and it's just another place where you can ask all your questions and hopefully get a community discussion going about ecofiction. I think that's it. Did I forget something? I feel like I forgot something. Oh, like and subscribe if you haven't done that yet. YouTube, it runs off of subscriptions and likes. It's tiny, insignificant detail. I post videos on reading and writing ecofiction every Wednesday, and sometimes there's some bonus content on Mondays. Stick around, we have a good time. Okay, that's it from me, and I will see you next week, Ecofictologists.